What is up, guys, and welcome once again to another video. I hope you enjoyed that little intro I edited in the beginning of this video. I decided to make something different for this type of video. But anyway, I would like to tell you a huge thanks for all the support I got in the previous Arma 3 Boost FPS guide. The support is actually great and I'm really thankful for that. I never expected the video to do as well as it did. It was just an idea that ran through my head, and since I had to optimize Arma 3 for myself, I decided to implement that as well into an actual YouTube video. So once again, a huge thanks to everyone who supported that video. So last time I showed you how to boost FPS for Arma on the software side. Today I'll show you how to boost FPS for Arma on the hardware side. On the previous video, I saw a lot of guys running AMD CPUs. Now, I'm not being biased against AMD CPUs. They are very good for their price. They are amazing. And you got Zen coming out. That will be very good. I expect it to do really well. But AMD CPUs are quite bad for this game. And that is due to single core performance. It's really hard to get actual good FPS in this game with any AMD CPU, to be exact. And I'll be talking about just that, and I will also recommend specific hardware if you want to run this game beautifully. So moving on to the huge topic, Arma 3 CPU optimization. How does Arma 3 utilize your CPU? How do different CPUs with different amount of cores and different single core performance compare in Arma 3? Let's find out. Okay, so it's logical for most people to think that if you have more cores, the better the game will actually run. But how does Arma 3 actually utilize these cores? Let's get this into context. Okay, so let's say we had a very fast single core CPU. Yes, a single core CPU. That single core CPU would be running at 100% at all times to satisfy the user. Now let's say you had something like a Pentium for this game, which is a dual core. The dual core's performance will be split in half in order to give a very similar experience to the first CPU, which ran at 100% with only one core. Now lastly, let's say we had a quad core, maybe a modern i5 for example, a Skylake i5, something like that. Now since this is a quad core, CPU usage will be spread around all the cores and be reduced across all the cores. So overall you would see about a 25% usage on each core on a quad core CPU. So the basics of what I just said is pretty much that increased cores will not give you more FPS in Arma 3, because what Arma 3 will do is pretty much lower the CPU usage across each core to achieve 100% with all of them combined together. So overall, having more than a quad core in Arma 3 will not benefit you at all. Okay, now that I have that out of the way, let's get into the actual topic, which is what is the best hardware that you can use in order to run Arma 3 smoothly. I will be giving two choices as minimum and recommended. Okay, so for the CPU, I would go with the i7-6700K, a very capable hyper-threaded quad core that has the best single core performance across all Intel generations. Now some of you might be asking, why did you not go for the i7-7700K? Now that is also a great choice, but I did not go with that because it is more expensive. The performance difference is almost not noticeable and it's not even out yet, so why should I go with that? And then for the minimum CPU, I would go with the i5-6600K, which is also another quad core processor, but it does not actually have hyperthreading. Now you might ask, why do you need the hyperthreading? It would not be useful if you have more than 4 cores for this game. Well, the hyperthreading can help you with the CPU usage in the background, so those 4 cores are only used for Arma. Okay, next I decided to go right ahead to the storage. Now the storage for Arma 3 is definitely something people look down on. They don't see it as important as the CPU for Arma 3, but it is actually very important. Because Arma 3 is optimized very weirdly, the game might actually use your storage instead of your RAM most of the time to process all the memory. So it's really important that you have a very good storage device, and this will help having no stutter at the game at all, so it's really important. So here I decided to go ahead and go with the fastest SSD in the world, the Samsung 960 Pro, a PCIe SSD that does wonders, a true PC Master Race product. Now I decided to go with the same SSD across the board for the recommended and the minimum specs, as the SSD, I cannot stress this enough, it is very important for Arma 3. Next we have the RAM. Now for recommended, I decided to go with the Corsair Vengeance 16GB kit, 3200, yes 3200 MHz memory. Now that is some of the fastest ever memory that you can buy out there, and to the points where the game does use your RAM, this will be extremely useful. Then on the minimum side, we are using the exact same RAM but only an 8GB kit. Now this is not really important that you're using 8GB instead of 16, since Arma 3 will never use more than 8GB, but for the recommended I just decided to go a bit crazy. So if you think the specs are too crazy, then just go for a mix with the minimum and the recommended. I would go with the minimum though if I was you. The GPU is next. Now on the recommended, this is definitely something that I went overkill with, and let me tell you this, you do not need a good GPU for Arma 3. You just need a decent GPU with enough VRAM and GDDR5 memory, that's all it. You do not need the fastest card out there or even the runner-up, you don't need any of that. I remember watching a guy make a comparison, the GTX 750 Ti compared to the GTX 1080 in Arma 3 single player, and he only saw a 5 FPS difference. Only a 5 FPS. So please do not go out and buy this GPU that I'm recommending, but if you do have the money and for other games as well, go for it. If you don't, okay, whatever. So recommended, I chose the For the Win EVGA GTX 1080. Then for the minimum, I decided to go with the XFX RX 470 for $170. The RX 470 is really all you really need for Arma 3. You definitely don't need anything more than that, and to be honest, even a card like the RX 460 would be just fine. Okay, so I'm only gonna mention one more component, and that is because the PSU, the Mobo, and the power supply are all to personal preference. You just need to make sure that they are all compatible. So those are your choice. But for the last component, we are going with the CPU liquid cooler. So since Arma 3 does need very good single core performance, getting a very good CPU water cooler will help you overclock and get the best performance you can for Arma 3. So I decided to go with the NZXT Kraken, one of the best CPU liquid solutions you can go for. This is a great choice because this is one of the best coolers to help you reach speed close to 5 GHz, which would be amazing. And it is the same across recommended and minimum for this component. Okay, so this is the end of the video. I hope you get the chance either to upgrade or build this PC for Arma 3, either the recommended or minimum one, or maybe even a mix of both of them. All parts will be in the description. They are either from Newegg or Amazon, so do have that in mind. Let me know your overall thoughts on the video, so leave a comment for that. I hope you learned a thing or two about Arma 3 optimization in this video. If it helped you out or you enjoyed, consider leaving a like and maybe even subscribing. Bye, have a great time, and peace out.